Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So today we're going to make this guy. I think we all know who this guy is. I cannot say his name because I'm not technically allowed to do anything that could be considered a copyright. So we're just going to call this a tugboat. So we're just going to build this little tugboat today. And I think this is the only guy in the character genre that I'm going to do for this. I'm not going to do the train. I'm not going to do anything else. I've done the tugboat. I don't think it's a good idea. So we're going to do him. And that's just going to be a little kid's toy tugboat. Even though he looks like this and we all know who he is. Let's jump right into this. So a blue background because there's nothing blue in this, so this should work. This yellow that I use, this is a saffron. That's what it's called. Gosh, I don't remember the color of this green. It's like I wish I kept tags. Sometimes you can obviously you see my cake is used quite a bit. So I end up throwing the tags out. I made a little bit of white for, I just made windows along here, so a little bit of white for that. And the black is going to be the bumper and the little weights, the tires on the side. And then of course red, this is a tomato red. And then of course googly eyes, but you can buy these at the dollar store, all these different sizes in a bag for like $1.25 or $1.75 or whatever they're up to now. So you're going to need a 4.5 and oh, you know what, I wrote the color of the green in my computer and I didn't read it. So we start with the green. Start with the green, and I want you to chain 21. That's 21. I want you to do 6 single crochets. And then I want you to do 7 half doubles. And then I want you to do 6 double crochets. So you should have 1 stitch left. And in that stitch, I want you to put 6 double crochets in that last stitch. And you're going to notice how it's going to curve around. I want you to follow that curve. So now I've curved around. This is my slip knot. I'm just going to pull it shut. And make sure you're starting in this stitch right next to your slip knot. And we're going to do the same thing back down as we did back up, just in the other direction. So we're going to do 6 doubles. And then we're going to do 7 half doubles. And then we're going to do 6 single crochets. So this is what you should have. If yours looks like a rib cage, you've done everything right. It should look like a rib cage like that. I know sometimes on the other side it can be really hard to find your stitches. So I weaved in my tail, so I'm just going to cut it off. So round 2. Round 2 is going to be quite long. Lots to do. So you can use a stitch marker here if you wanted to make sure you're finding your stitch, but go into your first stitch. Let's mark that with a stitch marker. We're going to do 1 single crochet increase 3 times. So that's number 1. Don't go into what looks like a stitch here, because that's an elongated stitch where we started, and you're already into that. So you got to pop over here to this stitch and do your increase of 2 single crochets in the same space. So that's 1 time. 1 single crochet increase, 2 times, 1 single crochet, whoops, increase 3 times. And then I want you to do 7 half doubles. Now we want you to do 2 double crochet increase 2 times. That's 2 double crochets, and then your increase is 2 double crochets in the same space. One more time, 2 double crochet increase. The next 2 stitches, I just want you to put a double crochet each. The next 2 stitches, I want you to put 2 single crochets in each stitch. And then the next 2 stitches, 1 double crochet each. And then we go back to 2 double crochet increase 2 times. That's 2 double crochets, and then my increase of 2 double crochets in the same space. One more time, 2 double crochet increase. And then I want you to do 7 half doubles. And then I want you to do one single crochet increase 2 times, just like we did before. I'm just working back down the other way. One single crochet increase 2 times. And then your 2 single crochets you have left, just put 1 single crochet in each of those. And that is our boat. So this should start in the same space where it goes out. Mine looks funny here because I think when I come this way, my stitches are tighter, and when I went up this way, my stitches were loose, but these are still 7 half doubles. So that's the only reason mine looks wonky, is because when I crochet one way, my tension is off. So it's no big deal. It'll still look like a boat. You should have 58 stitches, 59 stitches. I don't know. I don't remember. I didn't write it down. For the next 3 rows, I'm going to count mine though, so I'll give you a count. For the next 3 rows, you're going to put 1 single crochet in each stitch. So this is what you should have after your 3 rows is done. Putting this great big ridge around it is what we need to do to finish this project. This part, anyway, off, is a front post single crochet. So you're going to find your front post, which is right there. And then you're going to do a single crochet. So we don't really need to mark this off because you'll be able to see the ridge forming. So this is where you came up. I know this is going to be hard to see. Where's my pointer? Okay. So this is where we came up. This is part of our single crochet we just made, but we're going to go back down the same hole that so when I come up like this to do my next one, I'm going to go back down that same hole to grab my next post. So go back down the same hole you were just in and grab the next post. And then do a single crochet. Go back down the same hole you were just in, grab the next post. So that's what we're going to do, a front post single crochet. It'll be written FPSC in probably big capital letters because that's what I do. And you're going to do this all the way around, and you're going to notice it's going to put a great big thick edge on top. So I'm all the way back around, and this is the thick edge, obviously. You can see your own that gets put on it. So we're just going to go into where we first started and fasten off. That is it for the bottom part of the boat. So you just need a little weaving tail. And there we have the beginning of our little boat. So, let's get on camera a little bit better. So, you're going to be able to see with your own that this part kind of comes up more because we did single crochets down here and we did doubles down here. So this part's going to be lower, which is what we need for when we stuff it. You're going to notice it more when we stuff it, that this part's lower than this part, because that's what it's supposed to look like. So let's do the red. We'll do this part first. We'll have to sew this to the inside and stuff it. So that's an awkward part. So let's do that next. This color is tomato, like I told you before. So we're repeating rows 1 and 2 of the boat pattern is basically what we're doing with this red. We're not doing the boat itself has 6 rounds. We're not doing 6 rounds. We're just doing rounds 1 and 2 of the boat pattern. So you're going to chain 21. That's my 21. So I'm going to do 6 single crochets. And then I'm going to do 7 half doubles. Then I'm going to do 6 doubles. And in your last stitch, I want you to put 6 doubles. Oh, I thought I had a knot there. In your last stitch, I want you to put 6 double crochets in that stitch and then follow the curve around. So I'm following the curve around. I'm going to do 6 double crochets. Then I'm going to do 7 half doubles. And And then I'm going to do 6 single crochets. So I weaved this in a couple of times. I'm just going to snip off that end. So again, I'm going to get a stitch marker. And your next row is going to be 1 single crochet increase 3 times. After my first stitch, that's where my marker is going to go. That's 1 time. 2 times. 3 times. I'm going to do 7 half doubles. And then I'm going to do 2 double crochet increase 2 times. Then I'm going to do 2 double crochets, so 1 in each of the next 2 stitches. Two single crochets in each of the next 2 stitches. One double crochet each of the next 2 stitches. And then 2 double crochet increase 2 times. And now I'm going to do 7 half doubles. And now I'm going to do 1 single crochet increase 2 times. And then you should have 2 single crochets left. Put 1 single crochet in each of the next 2 stitches. And you're going to fasten off with a super duper long sewing tail. So that's what you should have. It looks exactly like the boat did when we started it. And that's going to get sewn to the inside. Let's try this again without my camera shutting off. This gets sewn to the inside of your boat and stuffed. This stuffing has to go in there. So, me, as not being a sewer, I actually really didn't struggle with this at all. It seemed quite easy to me to do this, because I just flip this around. Just make sure you are getting it. So I did it near the top, and I used this big thick ledge, because you got to stuff all underneath here, right? So I use this nice big thick ledge just right below it to do my, if I can get in there, to do my sewing. But not this part of the ledge, right here, just underneath that big ledge. That's where I did my sewing. So, and I mean, you only need to pick up like a little piece of thread. You don't need to, or yarn. You don't need to pick up a whole pile of yarn. So when I started getting up closer to the front of the boat, I did start going a little bit deeper with my stitches. But not much. But I was grabbing these, and now I'm kind of grabbing in the middle. So now I go back to being a little bit higher up here. I'm going to have to stuff it pretty soon before I completely fill it in. So I only have a little bit of a hole left, so I'm going to start filling it. Don't be too concerned too much if you can see, because we did doubles, if you can see the stuffing through it, because a whole entire wheelhouse goes on top of it. That's what it's called, wheelhouse. So just make sure you're stuffing this part good. I don't really need to worry about stuffing the back too, because the back sits lower than the back sits lower than the front. I hate when my thing does this when I'm sewing for so long, but of course I always grab too much yarn, so. All right. So, that's my boat. we go. So, moving on to the wheelhouse. Actually, let's do our black bumpers and stuff first. I think it'd be easier to sew all that on without the wheelhouse being in the way. So let's do these first. They're pretty quick. I did change hooks for this. I used a 4mm G hook. So we'll do the tires because they're so quick. The tires are just a magic ring of 6 single crochets, and you got to make 6 of them. That's it with your 4mm. So if you don't know, if you struggle with magic rings, then just do chain 2 and then put everything into the first stitch. It'll turn out looking like the exact same thing. And you can fasten off. So magic ring of 6 single crochets, that's all it is. And then for this little guy at the back, I just tied it in a knot and cut it off. Tied it in a knot. I pushed the knot all the way down and then I cut it off. I do use a little bit of glue to make sure that it's not ever going to come off, just because my toys go to kids and I don't want the little toddlers to pull any of this off. I've got grandchildren that are, 2 and 3 years old, so I use Amazon Basics washable clear glue. It's really, really good. It's better than fabric glue, actually. And you can buy that fairly cheap on Amazon. So you gotta make 6 of these. So I'm on my last one now. PDF users. So if you become a member of my channel by hitting the join button, you'll have access to all the PDFs for the videos that I do. And if they're, before I started this, obviously the PDFs aren't there, but all you gotta do is ask me. I'll give them to you. But anyway, I had written on here not to pull this completely closed because it's supposed to look like a tire, right? But I found that when I sewed it to the thing, it doesn't really matter because you can't see the hole anyway, so that's why I didn't say it. But I've got all 6 of mine. So even though I still sew them on, I do use a dab of glue just for safekeeping for the back. So you can put them wherever you want. If you want to look at my boat for a reference to where this is going, I would just start at the back and work your way up since we don't have the bumper in place. So in case you're wondering why I'm not weaving, it's because I'm using glue, so once the glue sets, it's going to be in place. That's why I'm not weaving. So I think the last thing we do before we move into chapter 2 is going to be this bumper, because it's small, but we have to do 25 rows, and I think we've already done enough for chapter 1. So I don't think my wheels are quite even, but anyway, this bumper is made with your 4mm. So we're going to start with a magic ring of 6 single crochets, and then we're going to do literally 25 rows of just 6 stitches. So I mean, it does go pretty fast, but we've already been long enough for chapter 1, so that's my 6 single crochets. So if you don't have I mean, I'm sure you already know how to keep track of your rows. I'm not going to move this every time. I'm just going to count to 6 multiple times and then mark on my row counter. So, you know, if you count to 12, you'd hit this twice for 2 rows. So that's how I generally do it, but you're going to do 25 rows of 6 single crochets. Like I said, it goes pretty fast. And then I'll leave you to sewing it to the front. I did not stuff this because you kind of want it to squish down flat a little bit. But you can puff it up as much as you want after you've sewn it. But yeah, I wouldn't stuff it, because number one, it's difficult, and you don't really need to. So I will see you in chapter 2 with your bumper all done and sewn on, and then we'll make the wheelhouse and the face, the hat, and the rest of this little guy. Hi guys, welcome back to chapter 2. So we're going to start chapter 2 with making the wheelhouse. So I used yellow. You don't need to make him look like you know, T, the tugboat. I can't say his name. I will get a copyright strike. But I use this saffron color. But you can use any color you want. It doesn't have to be the saffron color. And I used my 4mm. I got fuzzies from my fuzzies. So we're going to make a slip knot, and we're going to chain 17. I slipped up, so I wasn't sure if I did 17 or... So you're going to do 16 single crochets back up. The reason we don't do 17 is because the one is still on our hook. So all the way back up to the top, 1 single crochet in each stitch. Chain 1, turn your work. For round 2, we're just going to do 1 single crochet in each of these 16 stitches. So make sure you're getting into this first stitch, and make sure you're getting into the last stitch. This will keep your sides straight. So I'm on my 16th stitch. This is a turning over stitch. It's what I call it because it flips over sideways. But there's a stitch there, so you gotta make sure you get into the last stitch to keep your sides nice and straight. Chain one, turn your work. So, let me move my boat, it's kind of in my way. So we're gonna be doing front post single crochets. And there's a method to my madness. So you're going to go into your stitch and you're going to do one of those. You're going to pick up that post. Then you're going to yarn over, pull through, and then finish your stitch. So it's a regular single crochet. I'm going to sneeze. So to pick up your second post, you got to go back into that stitch you just came up from and pick up your second post. And do a single crochet. And we're going to do that all the way across. So I got one more post. And then this last stitch, I want you to put one single crochet into. And that's what you get, a nice thick ridge with this raised edge. There's a reason for it. Chain one, turn your work. So when we go back into this, we're not going into this raised edge. We're going into the stitches up here. These ones that are now kind of turned over to the side. So again, make sure you're getting into this first stitch. You're just going to do one single crochet in each. You should still have 16 stitches for the next 5 rows. And my 16th stitch is kind of turned over a little bit again. Chain one, turn your work. You need 5 rows all together. So this is what you should have at this point. You should be on the flat side. So you shouldn't be on the side with the raised edge. You should be on the flat side for this next row. So that's my 5 rows of 16 single crochets. This row we're going to do front posts again. You're going to do 15 front posts and then put your 1 single crochet at the end. That's my 15 posts, and then in here, that stitch that's turned over, we're going to do 1 single crochet. Chain 1, turn your work. So now we have 2 raised edges. And these stitches up here, you're going to start and you're going to do a 2 rows of 16 single crochets. So that's my second row. Now when I turn this, I'm going to be on the raised side. And now I'm going to do back post single crochets. So that means you got to come in from the back. So come in from the back and go out the next space. Now your post is on the back of your hook. You're going to yarn over, pull through, and finish the stitch. We'll do that again. Come in through the back, pick up that post, yarn over, pull through, and finish the stitch. This one's a little bit more trickier. Post, pull through, finish the stitch. So we're going to do that all the way across. We're still doing the 15 posts and then the 1 single crochet. So it still gives you this raised edge. And then do 1 single crochet in that last turning over stitch. Chain 1. So it still gives you this raised edge. It's just a tad different. So now these top stitches are the ones you're going to go into. And you're going to leave this raised edge alone. And you're going to do 4 rows of 16 single crochets across. So this is what it should look like. So we have a raised edge, raised edge, raised edge. 1, 2, 3, 4 rows of this. So when I turn this, I've already chained 1. So when I turn this, we're on this flat side. So we're going to do the front post single crochets again for 15 and then our 1 single crochet. And this will be our last row. Alright, so that's my last raised edge. So you should have 4 raised edges on your work. If you didn't like doing this, and this is you don't like the raised edges on here, or you're struggling to do the back post or whatever, you don't have to do it. You can, I mean, this puts folds in it, so it's going to actually look like a rectangle. But if you would prefer to do it another way, then you can just do 17 rows of just 16 single crochets. So you can fasten off. You're going to need a little bit of a sewing tail. So these raised edges is what helps with the folds. Let's tuck this guy away first because he's going to be annoying, I think. So the raised edges are on the outside, so I'm going to tuck him in the inside. So these two ends meet. Raised edge to flat edge. So that this edge gets tucked under a little bit. And you're going to sew those together. So that gives you two big sides and then two shallow sides. So that's where you're going to sew. And because we did the raised edges, it will stay looking like a square even after, or a rectangle, even after we sew it together. So this gets, like I said, sewn under a little bit. So I'm just going to do a whip stitch. So you're going to sew the flat edge to the raised edge, because we definitely want that raised edge to be prevalent. So that's how it gets sewn together. So keep your sewing tail. We need to make two ends for this. So you can decide whether you want to pop this inside out or how you want to do it. I think it's probably going to be tough. Let's just try. Well, maybe not. I didn't do this with my last one, but... So then when we make the little edges, you can sew on the one at least. And then the other side. The thing is, I don't think it really matters. Not for me. You can do whatever you want. But anyway, the raised edges have to be on the outside just for it to look like a rectangle. So let's move on to making the two little end pieces, because they're pretty super duper quick. And then we can get that stuffed and done. So chain 7 and do 6 single crochets. Chain 1 and turn. For the next 2 rows, just want you to put 6 single crochets in here. I want you to make 2 of these. You can fasten off after that. Oops. So one side obviously needs a sewing tail. The other side, I still got a little bit of sewing tail left, so this guy is going to get tucked in. I have to steal my needle. So mine's right side in, so like I said, you can do whatever your little heart desires as far as that goes. But mine is going to get sewn on like this, and then I'll make another one for the other side. So just make sure that you're putting the side on the side. You don't even have to whip stitch. You can sew like a regular sew job. Either way, it's not going to look pretty, but it is just a wheelhouse. Just make sure your corners stay your corners. So I'm done sewing it, but I haven't weaved or anything because I actually want to put stuffing in this first. So my thing is on coming from the inside. So I just got to make sure that I don't push it down. So this is my little rectangle, and this gets sewn to the top of the boat. So you can put it wherever you want. You can put it straight down the middle, or you can put it wherever you want. But I just used a mattress stitch to attach it. So, or a mattress stitch-ish. So I grabbed just a couple of pieces of the red, and then I'm going to grab a couple of pieces of the yellow. And I'm going to do that all the way around. A couple of pieces of the red, a couple of pieces of the yellow. So I'm grabbing almost underneath this yellow thing, the wheelhouse. But you don't have to pull it right away. That's the best part. So you can tip it back and get right underneath this guy. And you're going to make what I like to refer to as shoelaces. All these little strings. And again, like I say, you don't need to pull. We can pull. Once we get to the other side, you don't need to be as close as me, but do you see all of these? So I'm not pulling yet because I want to stay kind of underneath it. So I'm over on the edge and I am running out of yarn. So I started here and I came around here. So all I'm going to do is pull, and all of this will get sucked down. It's going to be hard to show you on camera, but you see how it's all getting sucked down? And then you pull till you can't pull anymore. And then it gets, you can't see the sew things. Yeah, this is all up, but you can just continue with your mattress stitches around and it'll all get sucked down too. So mine's not the best job in the world. I did great on this side. Not so great on this side. Not sure why. And then my back is a little screwed up. But I don't sew very well. So. But it's just a little toy for my grandkids, so I don't think they're going to be too overly concerned about it. There, and we just kind of got to straighten everything back out. And this is the wheelhouse. There. Now we got to do the top part. But first, let's put our windows in. They just need a little bit of white. If you're doing windows, you don't need to do windows, but if you're doing windows, wow, I got a lot of white. I'm going to do windows for both sides with my piece, so I'm going to make it fairly long. I probably have too much. I always have too much. Anyway, so it doesn't really matter where you come in, just where you come out. And I just made X's. So I just came down kitty corner like that. Popped right back up here. And then brought my X down over here. And then moved up to the next spot I want my window. I didn't put a door in, but and that's all you gotta do. I don't think I will put a other window in. I'm just gonna pop over here. So, these are my 3 windows. Ain't weave or anything, I just snipped it off. He didn't think it was that important. So let's do the head part. Still with my 4. So I started with a magic ring of 6 single crochets. This is labeled stack for PDF users, and it's right under side panels for wheelhouse. So you're gonna put 6 single crochets in here. That's my arm squeaking on the table. Your next round is going to be 2 single crochets in each stitch around. So I'm going to need a stitch marker. I gotta move everything. So that's number 1. And my second stitch can go into that same space. So 2 single crochets in the same space all the way around. So you should have 12 stitches when you come back. Our next round is going to be 1 single crochet and an increase, and this will bring you up to 18 stitches. So that's 1 single crochet, and then your next stitch gets the increase of 2 single crochets in the same space. Repeat. For the next 7 rounds, I want you to put 1 single crochet in each of these 18 stitches. And then we're going to change to red. So I will see you on the other side. So this is my 7 rows. I'm going to do my last stitch and change to red. So I'm going to pull up a loop. I'm not going to finish the stitch with yellow. I'm going to finish it with red. And I'm going to tie my straggler and my yellow together. We're only doing 1 last row with the red. I'm leaving my hook in there so I know how tight to pull. So I'm going to cut my red off a little bit. I'm going to cut my yellow off a little bit, and I don't need this anymore, so I can just shove that away. And with my red, I'm going to do 1 single crochet in each stitch around, and then I'm going to fasten off. And then I'm going to stuff this guy. The reason I don't weave is because it turns one side thicker than the other side, and I really absolutely hate that, especially if I'm just doing 1 row. So you can fasten off with a sewing tail. So we stuffed this guy. I put the face on it after it was sewed to the wheelhouse. Just make sure it's at the front. It goes right up there like that. So the face that I did, let's do the eyes first. So get your little googly eyes. I just sewed or glued mine on. I couldn't find any peel and stick eyes. I don't think they peel and stick. Yeah, those do not peel and stick, so I just glued mine on. So keep in mind there's going to be a hat. So let's see, I did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th and 6th row from the bottom, from the red bottom. Sorry, let me recount that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 6 and 7. Sorry, from the red. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So somewhere around here. I put on a pretty big dollop on that one. But it's clear glue. It's not like you're going to see. Not like you're going to see it. So you can put yours as close together or as far apart as you want. Anyway, I got a piece of yellow. So for the nose, I just let me close this. I'm pretty much done with that. For the nose, I just did a bunch of X's. So I just kind of crossed over, went up into here. Try not to get tangled around your boat. And then I just continued that, crossing over until it was the size I wanted it. Oops. I think that's good. So I just popped out the back after I put his little nose on, like that. I didn't weave. I didn't think it was necessary. And for his little mouth, sorry, my eyes are moving around. But they'll have time to dry when I do my hat. So you just need a tiny wee little piece for the mouth. I just did red. Because I think that's what color his mouth is, but I'm not sure. Anyway, I was going to put a little dollop of glue, but I don't think I did with my last one. I just came in, popped out where I want his mouth to be. And then I just popped back in where I want his mouth to finish. And as far as keeping the smile, I just didn't pull very tight. That's all I did. Oh, I'm not even on camera. I just went in and out, and then I just didn't pull tight, so it just kind of sits out like that to look like a smile. But you can also, you know, stick a piece of glue in there. I'll set him aside so his face can dry, and then I put a little piece of glue to hold his mouth down. And then we'll do his hat. Oops. Might have to put a pin in there. So I'm just going to put a little pin in there to hold his mouth down. So let's set him aside so I stop screwing his eyes up. And then we'll get his hat done. And I did it with the 4mm, just so it was, to use the 4mm just so that it was stiff enough that his brim would stick up on its own and I wouldn't have to keep messing with it. So, but if you have yarn that's thinner than, I mean, this is a pretty chunky 4-weight. It's not worsted, but it's a pretty chunky 4-weight. And the 4 is fine, but if you have just a regular 4-weight, like this white, which is smaller than the red. It's hard to tell from here, but this white, I mean, I would have went down to a 3.5 if I had to use this white for it. So it's completely up to you what you use in this instance, whether you want to go down a hook size, just to keep the sorry, I'm just trying to clean up as I talk, just to keep the stiffness. But my 4 is going to work fine with this. It's going to be stiff enough that it's going to stand up on its own. But again, if it's not, go down a hook size. We're going to start with a magic ring of 6 single crochets. Your next round is going to be 2 single crochets in each stitch around, giving you 12 stitches. Your next round is going to be 1 single crochets and an increase, and this will bring it up to 18 stitches. Your next round is going to be 2 single crochets and an increase. That's number 1, that's number 2, and then your increase of 2 single crochets in the same space. And this will bring it up to 24 stitches. Your next round is going to be in the back loops only. You're going to see it written as capital BLO. It means back loop only. And these are your back loops right there. So you don't need to turn it over or anything. They're right there. So we're going to go into the back loop only. And we're just going to do 1 single crochet in each of these 24 stitches. So you can flip this around. You'll see a nice rim around it where we left our front loops exposed. So that's kind of taking the top of the hat and that's building the top and now turning it into this, helping us build the sides by doing the back loops only like that. So now I just want you for the next 3 rounds to put 1 single crochet in each of these 24 stitches. And I will see you on the other side. So this is what you should have at this point. So the last row is going to be in the front loops only. So these guys right here You're going to do 8 double crochets in the front loops only. We don't need our marker anymore. That's 1. That's my 8 double crochets. Right here is where you can fasten off. So you just need a little bit to weave. You know, it seems like a weird place to do that, but so you're going to come down here into this next stitch. So just try not to pull too bad. You're going to come back down these two, like a picot almost. And that kind of finishes the hat off there. Flip it around. I'm going to go back up. Tie a knot. So that won't be too noticeable, but it helps the hat a little bit. Like that. So your brim should look like this. This part we're gonna weave in. So because we use the front loops, that's how you get the little part that sticks up. This hat is a little different from this hat because I did this with a different hook, and I didn't do it very tight. This one I did a little bit tighter just so it would stand up on its own. He's kind of still drying, but I also found that having the smaller brim didn't hide his eyes as much. So it's a little bit different than what I initially done, but his eyes, because when I do that, I mean, his eyes are hidden a little bit because the brim is a little bit bigger, but this one is not. So I did change the pattern a little bit. I also put eyebrows on him here, but then I found it was kind of pointless to do that because you can't really see the eyebrows. And I don't think you're going to see them with this guy too. I mean, wear his hat back like that. There's still not really a whole lot of room for eyebrows. But if you wanted to put eyebrows in there, I'm just going to have my hat come right down to the top of his eyes. So I don't really need to worry about that. Yes, I did sew the hat on only because this is going to a child. So, but I mean, it's completely your decision. I did not stuff it though. But now that I'm remembering, I did stick a pin in it and I never took it out. So that could have been lethal. Anyway, I just took a piece of yarn and I made a slip knot on one end where we fastened off, it's kind of hard to fasten off with a sewing tail. So I just reattached I'm going to do it at the back, just in case it doesn't look all that attractive. So I just grabbed it. I didn't go into the doll. I'm just reattaching with my slip knot. So go through your slip knot here. Everything's still trying to dry, so this is probably... Anyway, pull this slip knot closed and then tie another knot. When you weave these pieces in, you won't notice them. You won't notice the knot. Anyway, I went around, sewed the hat on, and I came back and I used this to tie another knot before I weaved. And that way I knew definitely it was absolutely secured. But you don't need to be too anal about sewing this hat on if it's not going to a child. I didn't hit every hook or every stitch either. I just kind of every other one type of deal. So when I came out, I went back up and probably skipped a stitch or two before I went back up. So I sewed up to the rim and then I sewed up here. Did not sew around the rim. Just make sure you're keeping everything pretty close when you go in and out. So I'm going to come up into this same space or close to it. I know, it's going to be hard to see. It's hard for me to see. I'm going to tie a knot, double knot, and then when I weave all this, none of it will be noticeable. Like the knots won't be, because I'm going to pull them in. So, one goes down and out, and then this other one goes up and out, and that's how I suck the knot down inside. Take that out. And because I tied the knots, I don't really need to weave any more than that. But that's not... Oh, I just poking myself with the... But that's not really that noticeable at the back. And then this guy... You can use some starch. Oh, my eyes are dry. You can use some starch. Unfortunately, mine is liquid form that won't squirt out anymore. So I have to brush mine on. But liquid starch is a good thing to use if your brim still won't stand up on its own. And this is what it's called. So, for my left-handed video, my right-handed video. Stiff and quick. I got it from on Amazon. So, another thing that wouldn't hurt is, if it works, some hairspray, but only if it's wet. But you can make it wet. And that will keep it nice and stiff as well. And standing up. And my fingers are sticky. So once all that dries, that should never... Oh, it's already stiffening up. So I use hairspray as well. Generally, I dampen that with water I have my water sitting here, but it's got stuff hanging off of it, so. Oh, my edge didn't glue down very well. I think that's all my pins. And that is it. To tee the tugboats, that's what I gotta call them, because I'll get a copyright claim. I like the face on this guy. And the hat better. Anyway, thanks for joining me, guys. I hope you liked it. Like I said, I'm not making the other characters because I'm kind of risking a copyright strike making this guy. They took it off my Etsy page. Like, they're taking everything off my Etsy pages, and I'm just getting a hard time with Facebook and everything else posting stuff like this because of copyrights. So, I'm just going to call him T the Tugboat. Well, you probably already saw the title, but anyway, I put 4 windows on that guy, but anyway, blah, blah, blah. Thanks for joining me, guys. I'll see you in the next video.